My name is Alina Carter. I'm 28 years old, and for most of my life, I existed in the background of my own family. Not invisible. Just optional. I'm the middle child. My older sister, Vanessa, was the son. My younger brother, Lucas, was the family miracle baby. And me. I was the reliable one. The one who showed up early, stayed late, fixed problems nobody noticed, and absorbed tension so everyone else could stay comfortable. Vanessa always said I had resting supportive sister energy. I think what she meant was useful but forgettable. Vanessa's wedding was scheduled for a warm May afternoon in Charleston, South Carolina. If you've never been, Charleston feels like a postcard that learned how to breathe: pastel houses, salt air, oak trees dripping with Spanish moss like something out of a movie set. Vanessa picked a historic waterfront estate called Willowbrook House. White columns, garden pathways, a dock stretching into glittering water. Everything about it screamed elegance. And Vanessa loved elegance. She loved being admired even more. I arrived 2 days early because Vanessa asked me to help. Which, translated from Vanessa language, meant do everything stressful so I can look effortless. I assembled welcome bags, confirmed vendors, picked up her altered dress when the boutique messed up the hem. I even spent 3 hours gluing tiny pearl accents onto table numbers because Vanessa decided at midnight that plain cardstock was emotionally disappointing. Not once did I complain. Because that's what I do. I carry things. The morning of the rehearsal dinner, I finally asked Vanessa something simple. Where am I sitting tomorrow? She didn't look up from her phone. Oh, you're at table 18. Table 18. I didn't know the layout yet, but her tone told me enough. Is that okay? I asked carefully. Yeah, she said. It's with extended guests, plus ones, some coworkers from Ryan's office. Ryan. Her groom. A corporate attorney with perfect posture and a voice that always sounded like he was mid-presentation. I'd met him maybe 5 times. Every time, he'd been polite, observant, quiet in a way that suggested he noticed more than he said. That night, I saw the seating chart. Table 18 wasn't just far. It was practically in another zip code. Tucked near the catering station, partially blocked by a floral installation. The kind of table guests end up at when they weren't part of the plan, but couldn't be excluded. I stared at the board for a long time. Not angry. Just familiar with the feeling. Vanessa's maid of honor noticed me. Oh, she said softly, I thought you'd be at the family table. I smiled. It's fine. Because that's what I do. I make things fine. The wedding day arrived glowing and humid, sunlight scattering across the water like shattered glass. Vanessa looked breathtaking. Custom silk gown, cathedral veil, makeup so perfect it felt almost unreal. Everyone buzzed around her like she was royalty. And she loved it. I spent the morning steaming dresses, delivering coffee orders, and calming Vanessa through 3 separate mini panics. By the time guests started arriving, my feet already hurt. But I slipped into my emerald dress, pinned my hair back, and took my seat in the second-to-last row. Not family row. Just nearby. The ceremony was beautiful. String quartet, ocean breeze, soft murmurs of guests wiping tears. Vanessa walked down the aisle glowing. Ryan waited at the altar. But something about him felt distant. Not nervous. Not overwhelmed. Just thoughtful. Like he was solving a puzzle nobody else could see. Their vows were elegant. Well written. Applauded. But when Ryan said, I promise honesty, his eyes flickered briefly toward the guest rows. Toward me. It was so quick I almost thought I imagined it. The reception unfolded exactly how Vanessa envisioned. Champagne towers. Crystal place settings. A live jazz trio. And table 18. My table. A tech consultant from Chicago. A cousin's boyfriend who kept checking sports scores. 2 women who spent most of dinner debating whether the salmon was dry. I smiled politely. Laughed when appropriate. Watched the head table from afar. Vanessa basked in attention, like sunlight was her native language. And for a while, everything felt normal. Predictable. Until speeches started. Vanessa's maid of honor spoke. Funny stories. Luca's gave a sentimental toast. My parents spoke about Vanessa's extraordinary heart. No one asked me to speak, which was also predictable. I sipped champagne and told myself it didn't matter. But then Ryan stood, and the room shifted. Because Ryan didn't grab notes. He didn't smile widely. He just held the microphone like it was heavier than expected. I want to thank everyone for being here, he began. His voice steady. Professional. But there was something underneath. Something unscripted. He talked about meeting Vanessa. Her ambition, her confidence, her ability to command a room. Guests nodded. Vanessa beamed. Then Ryan paused. A long pause. The kind that makes people lean forward without realizing. And, he continued slowly, I want to thank someone else. Vanessa's smile faltered just a fraction. Ryan looked across the reception. Past the dance floor. Past the floral arch. Past every table. Until his gaze landed directly on table 18. On me. The room grew quiet in that subtle way crowds do when curiosity replaces conversation. Ryan lowered the microphone slightly. Then, without another word, he stepped down from the stage and started walking across the room. Toward me. Ryan walking toward me didn't feel real. It felt like one of those moments your brain misfiles. Like when you wave back at someone only to realize they were waving at the person behind you. I even glanced over my shoulder. Just in case. But there was no one behind me. Only a tall white floral installation, and the catering staff moving quietly like background scenery. Ryan was coming to table 18. And the entire reception noticed. You could feel it in the air. Conversations fatting mid-sentence. Silverware pausing halfway to plates. Phones lowering from faces. Vanessa watched from the sweetheart table, confusion flickering across her expression like a crack in glass. Ryan stopped beside my chair. Up close, he looked different. Not groom polished. Not presentation perfect. Just human. Nervous, even. Elena, he said softly. Hearing my name through a microphone in a room full of people felt surreal. I stood slowly. Mostly because sitting suddenly felt impossible. Ryan didn't speak right away. He just looked at me. Not romantically. Not dramatically. But with recognition. The kind people reserve for someone who has quietly mattered for a long time. I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner, he said into the microphone, voice calm but carrying. But there's something important I need to say. A ripple moved through the crowd. Vanessa's posture straightened. Her smile returned, the one she used when cameras appeared. Controlled. Prepared. Ryan continued. When you plan a wedding, you make a lot of lists, guest lists, vendor lists, seating charts. Light laughter from guests. But sometimes, he added, lists don't reflect reality. The room grew still again. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Not embarrassment. Just the weight of attention I'd spent my life avoiding. Ryan turned slightly toward the crowd. I met Alina before Vanessa, and I even started dating seriously, he said. She was the one coordinating Vanessa's birthday dinner, making sure everyone else was comfortable, fixing problems nobody noticed. Small murmurs. Ryan glanced back at me. I remember thinking, this is the person holding the entire evening together, and nobody sees it. My chest tightened. Because he was right. And because hearing it said aloud felt like someone turning on lights in a room I didn't know was dark. Vanessa laughed lightly from across the room. "Oh my God, Ryan," she called playfully. "This isn't a leaner appreciation night." Some guests chuckled, but Ryan didn't laugh. He didn't even look at her immediately. He just kept speaking. "That's kind of the point," he said gently. The laughter died. Ryan inhaled. There were dozens of moments over the past year where Alina stepped in quietly, picking up decorations when vendors were late, answering calls Vanessa didn't have time for, driving across town to fix problems that weren't hers. Each example felt like a private memory being placed under bright lights. I wanted to disappear. And yet, a small part of me felt seen in a way that was almost painful. Ryan finally looked toward Vanessa. "This wedding is beautiful," he said, "and Vanessa worked hard on it." Relief softened Vanessa's shoulders. But it didn't last. "However," Ryan continued, "beauty doesn't come from perfection." A stillness spread that felt heavier than silence. "It comes from character." Ryan turned back to me. "And Alina," he said, voice quieter now, "your character has been the invisible foundation of so many moments that mattered to this family." My eyes burned unexpectedly. Not tears exactly. Just emotion without a clear label. Ryan lowered the microphone slightly. "So when I saw the seating chart last night," he said, "and realized Alina was placed at table 18. A wave of uncomfortable shifting passed through nearby guests. Ryan didn't raise his voice, but his words landed like stones in water. It didn't feel right. Vanessa's smile was gone now. Not replaced by anger. Just confusion. Like the script had changed, and no one handed her new lines. Ryan extended his hand toward me. "Would you come with me?" he asked. The question was simple, but it carried the weight of every pair of eyes in the room. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to move, but because moving meant stepping out of the role I'd played my entire life. The quiet one. The accommodating one. The one who stayed seated. The room waited. Ryan waited. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't think about keeping things comfortable. I thought about how tired I was of shrinking. So I placed my hand in his and walked with him. The walk across the reception felt longer than the ceremony aisle. Every step echoed. Not physically. Emotionally. Guests parted slightly, curiosity hanging in the air like humidity. Vanessa stood as we approached, her expression unreadable. Ryan stopped near the head table, then turned to face the room again. And what he said next changed everything. Standing beside the head table felt like standing under interrogation lights. Except nobody was asking questions. They were waiting for answers. Ryan still held my hand, not tightly, not possessively, just enough to say, "Don't panic, you're not alone up here." Vanessa stared at us. Her smile was gone now, replaced by something quieter. Calculation. Confusion. Maybe even hurt. "Ryan," she said carefully, microphone lowered but voice still carrying, "what's going on?" Ryan didn't answer immediately. He looked at me first. A silent check-in. Permission. I didn't know what he was about to say. But something inside me had already crossed a line the moment I stood up from table 18. So I nodded. Just once. That was enough. Ryan faced the guests. "When you're marrying someone," he began, "people tell you to pay attention to how they treat waiters, strangers, and family." Soft murmurs. Common advice. But his tone suggested this wasn't going somewhere common. "I paid attention," he continued. Vanessa's jaw tightened slightly. Ryan's voice stayed calm. There were many moments when Vanessa was generous, kind, and thoughtful. A visible exhale from Vanessa. But Ryan didn't stop there. "And there were moments," he said, when someone else's kindness filled the gaps. Silence returned instantly. I felt my heart beat in my throat. Ryan glanced at the floral arrangements surrounding us. "This wedding weekend," he said, "had more complications than most people know." Guests exchanged curious looks. The florist lost a shipment, the transportation company double-booked, the rehearsal dinner venue almost canceled. Vanessa blinked. Because some of that she hadn't known. Ryan turned slightly toward me. "Elena handled those problems," he said simply. A ripple moved through the crowd. Not dramatic. Just recognition rearranging itself. Vanessa's voice cut in. "Ryan, I was managing 100 things." "I know," he said gently. Not defensive. Not accusatory. Just factual. And that's exactly why Elena stepped in. The statement didn't attack Vanessa, but it removed the illusion that everything had magically worked out. Someone had made it work. Ryan inhaled slowly. "This morning," he continued, "when the photographer arrived late, Elena reorganized the timeline." I remembered that. Running through hallways in heels. Texting vendors. Fixing chaos while pretending it didn't exist. Guests murmured again. Some nodded. Because they'd seen glimpses of it. Vanessa looked at me now. Really looked. Not as background. Not as younger sister orbiting her spotlight. But as a person standing directly across from her. "You didn't have to do all that," she said quietly. The words sounded sincere. But they carried an assumption. That help was optional. That effort was casual. I swallowed. "I know," I said. My voice surprised me. "Steady. I just wanted your day to be good." Vanessa's expression flickered. Because that answer didn't contain resentment. And resentment would have been easier to dismiss. Ryan raised the microphone again. "The problem isn't that Elena helped," he said. "The problem is that her help became invisible." That sentence landed heavier than any accusation. Invisible effort. Invisible loyalty. Invisible presence. Table 18. Vanessa crossed her arms slightly. "I didn't mean anything by the seating chart," she said. "It was logistics." Ryan nodded. "I believe you," he replied. And somehow, that made the moment more uncomfortable. Because the issue wasn't cruelty. It was indifference. Ryan turned toward the guests. "We spend so much time celebrating loud achievements," he said. "But quiet devotion rarely gets acknowledged." The room was completely still now. Even the catering staff paused near the bar. Ryan lowered the microphone slightly. "And a wedding," he said, "should be a celebration of love in all its forms." He looked at me. "So tonight, before anything else continues." Ryan reached toward the head table, picked up a folded place card, and handed it to me. I looked down. The card read, "Elena family." No table number. No corner placement. Just belonging. My vision blurred unexpectedly. Because the card didn't move me due to proximity. It moved me because of recognition. Vanessa watched silently. The room watched her watching me. And for the first time that night, she looked uncertain. Like she was seeing the story from outside herself. Ryan spoke softly. "Elena shouldn't be sitting at the farthest table in the room." He paused. "She should be sitting with the people who matter most." The sentence hung there. Not dramatic, but undeniable. Vanessa exhaled slowly. A long breath that seemed to carry years of unspoken dynamics. Then she stepped forward. Toward me. Toward the space between sisters that had quietly stretched over time. And when she spoke, her voice didn't sound like the bride anymore. It sounded like a sister. Vanessa stopped just a few feet away from me. Not close enough to hug. Not far enough to ignore. Just that uncomfortable distance where honesty usually lives. The reception hall felt suspended, like someone had pressed pause on an entire room. Music muted. Conversations gone. Eyes everywhere. But in that moment, it didn't feel like a crowd. It felt like just us. Two sisters standing inside years of unspoken things. Vanessa looked down at the place card in my hands, then back at my face. "I didn't realize," she said quietly. 4 simple words. But they carried weight. Not defensive. Not dismissive. Just reflective. I didn't respond immediately. Because the truth was complicated. She didn't realize. But I also never told her. That's how distance grows, not through fights but through silence. Vanessa swallowed. "When did it start feeling like that?" she asked. The question wasn't about the seating chart. It was about everything. Memories surfaced faster than I expected. Birthday parties, where I handled decorations while she greeted guests. Family dinners, where I cleared plates while she told stories. Graduation day, when relatives asked what Vanessa was doing next, before asking if I'd graduated too. None of those moments were cruel individually. But stacked together, they created a pattern. "I don't think it started," I said softly. "I think it just kept happening." Vanessa's eyes glossed slightly. Because that answer didn't accuse. It revealed. And revelation is harder to argue with than blame. Ryan stepped back quietly, giving us space, which somehow made the moment feel even more intimate despite the audience. Vanessa crossed her arms briefly, her usual self-protection reflex, then dropped them. "I always thought you liked being behind the scenes," she admitted. A small, almost sad smile touched my lips. "I did," I said. "And I still do." I paused. But liking quiet doesn't mean liking invisibility. The sentence landed gently, but firmly. Vanessa's composure cracked. Not dramatically. Just a subtle shift. The confident bride replaced by a younger sister, remembering shared bedrooms, whispered secrets, and childhood summers. "I wasn't trying to erase you," she said. "I know," I replied. And I meant it. Because intent and impact aren't always the same thing. A tear slipped down Vanessa's cheek before she could stop it. "I was just so used to you fixing things," she whispered. That sentence explained more than any apology could. Reliability can quietly become expectation. And expectation can quietly become entitlement. I felt my own eyes sting. "I didn't mind fixing things," I said. "I just wanted someone to notice I was doing it." The vulnerability in my voice surprised even me. Because I wasn't asking for praise. Just acknowledgement. Vanessa laughed weakly through tears. "You always notice everyone else," she said. "And I guess I thought that meant you didn't need anyone noticing you." That hurt. But not in a sharp way. In a truthful way. Vanessa stepped closer. "This morning," she said slowly, "when I finalized the seating chart, I remember seeing your name." She paused. "And thinking you'd be fine anywhere." A collective inhale passed through nearby guests. Because that sentence sounded painfully familiar to many people. The reliable one. The adaptable one. The one who'll be fine. "I am fine," I said gently. "But that doesn't mean I don't feel things." Vanessa nodded immediately. No defensiveness left. Only understanding arriving late, but sincerely. Another quiet moment passed. Then Vanessa did something unexpected. She turned toward the guests, took the microphone from Ryan, and faced the room. "When you plan a wedding," she said, voice trembling but steady enough, "you think about centerpieces and timelines and lighting." Soft, nervous laughter. "But you don't always think about people who quietly hold your life together." The room listened. Completely. Vanessa looked at me. "My sister has been that person for me," she said. Not just this weekend, my whole life. Emotion moved visibly across tables now. Because everyone knows someone like that. Or is someone like that. Vanessa walked to the head table, picked up her own place card, then returned to me. You shouldn't be sitting at table 18, she said softly. She placed her card beside mine. You should be sitting next to me. A murmur spread instantly. Not dramatic, but warm. Recognizing repair when it happens. I exhaled shakily. Because the moment wasn't about proximity. It was about position. Not physically. Emotionally. Vanessa extended her hand. Come sit with me, she said. No performance. No script. Just invitation. And this time, the choice didn't feel heavy. It felt simple. So I took her hand. And the room exhaled with us. But the night wasn't finished yet. Because sometimes recognition opens doors to conversations that have waited years. And as Vanessa and I walked toward the head table together, Ryan leaned closer to me and whispered something that made my heart stop. Vanessa's hand was still wrapped around mine as we walked toward the head table. Not tightly, just enough to say stay. The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was soft, warm. The kind of applause people give when something emotional happens that they don't want to disturb. I could feel eyes on us. But for the first time that night, it didn't feel like scrutiny. It felt like support. We reached the head table. Vanessa pulled out the chair beside hers. The chair that had always been reserved for someone important. A maid of honor. A best friend. A chosen person. She looked at me. This is where you belong, she said. No microphone. No audience voice. Just sister to sister. I sat. And the moment I did, something inside me settled. Not because I needed proximity to Vanessa, but because I was no longer positioned as an afterthought. Dinner resumed slowly. Music returned. Laughter cautiously restarted. But there was a noticeable difference in the air. People spoke to me directly now. Not as Vanessa's sister. Not as background logistics. But as Alina. Ryan leaned closer slightly. I meant what I said earlier, he murmured. I glanced at him. You see people, he said. And that's rare. I smiled faintly. So do you, I replied. He chuckled. Still learning. Across the table, Vanessa watched us quietly. Not suspicious. Not defensive. Just thoughtful. Like she was replaying years of memories through a new lens. Finally, she spoke. You know, she said softly, when we were kids, Mom used to say you were the glue. I blinked. I hated that, Vanessa admitted. The honesty surprised me. Why? Because glue isn't flashy, she said. Nobody compliments glue. A small laugh escaped me. Fair point. Vanessa continued. But tonight I realized something. She paused. If glue disappears, everything falls apart. Emotion rose unexpectedly in my chest. Because recognition that arrives late still matters. Later that night, the dance floor filled. Vanessa and Ryan swayed through their first dance. Guests formed circles. Phones recorded memories, destined for highlight reels. I stood near the edge of the dance floor, watching. Not lonely. Just observant. Comfortable. Vanessa approached midway through a song. Dance with me, she said. I laughed. You already have a husband for that. She rolled her eyes. Sisters get dances too. So we danced. Awkwardly. Laughing. Stepping on each other's feet like we used to in the living room as kids. And for a few minutes, the wedding disappeared. It was just us again. Near the end of the night, guests gathered for sparkler send-off photos. The venue lights dimmed. Golden sparks lit smiling faces. Vanessa hugged relatives. Ryan shook hands. And eventually, Vanessa turned to me. She didn't speak right away. Just hugged me. Longer than polite. Shorter than dramatic. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Not for the seat. For the pattern." I hugged her back. "I know," I said. And I did. As they walked toward the exit tunnel of sparklers, Vanessa looked over her shoulder. Not at the crowd. At me. And smiled. Not the camera's smile. The real one. The one I hadn't seen in years. 6 months later, Sunday brunch became a routine. Not elaborate. Not scheduled months ahead. Just casual messages. "Are you free?" Vanessa asked for my opinion more. Not out of obligation. But interest. I said no sometimes. And the world didn't collapse. Which was its own kind of freedom. People often think defining moments are loud. Confrontations. Arguments. Declarations. But my defining moment happened quietly. At table 18. When someone noticed where I was sitting. And asked why. That question didn't just change my seat. It changed my position in my own life. So that was the night my sister gave me the worst seat at her wedding. And the night I realized I no longer had to accept spaces that minimized me. Sometimes the biggest shift isn't moving tables. It's believing you deserve a better one. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever been placed somewhere that didn't reflect your value? And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop your location and local time. I love seeing where you're listening from. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you in the next story.